Okay, we're back studying truth tables, so just continuing on with some of your activities. I'm up to what activity? Number 6 in your note packet. You'll see it looks like this, so just follow along. We're on the last 2 pages now. So anyway, if you haven't done this, pause the video and work the problem first. So here we have 3, and they have 3 statements, and they've written things out for us. Sometimes they do, sometimes they just leave it open. It could, because it really doesn't matter what the statements are. Any statement that can be judged true or false. So it could be anything. So, but sometimes to make the problem more interesting, they'll define it. So this one they do. They say statement P is Santana is home. Statement Q, Santana is at his desk. And statement R, Santana is sleeping. So there's 3 statements. That means a P, Q, and R, or whatever variables you like. And 3 statements makes 8 cases. So I've just stamped those cases on there. They're the same cases every time you do these. So then it asked me a problem. So this is new. In our other problems, it gave me the already written out what the symbolic language would be. Here we have to do our own. So this takes us back to the section 1. It says Santana is home. That's statement P. And he is not at his desk. So they negated Q, so it'd be not Q. Now notice we've got a comma in this. If you remember from the last section, commas, if there's a run-on sentence, tells you to put that in parentheses, the part so far, P and not Q, should be in parentheses because it's before the comma and group. And then we've got the or, which is the V. He is sleeping is statement R. So we're able to transcribe that into our symbols and then go after it with our rules. So we talked about when we do our truth tables, we have to use order of operations, which means do the parentheses first. So it was important to note there's parentheses because of the comma. So we're going to do this first, then we're going to write down R, or you can just look over here, and then we're going to do that or. That will be the final step of this. If you were asked what type of conjunction or what type of connective is this, we would say ultimately it's the or, because the answer is whatever the last step is. The ultimate thing we're doing here is an or problem or a disjunction. All right, so let's go after it. Again, I'm being extra cautious just to show all the steps. You may or may not be doing that, and that's okay. And it depends on the problems you do online if they ask you to show all the steps. But you could just look over here for P, and instead of writing it down again, you know, to save some time. But here to be extra thorough, I am writing the value of P down again, and then negating Q. So Q, do the opposite to all my Q values. Careful, as any one mistake messes you all up, which I'm sure you're thinking that. So, okay, so I get the negation of Q, P, and then I use my and rule. If you watch this video and you're like, I think you made a mistake on one of these, please do send me a little email and let me know that I need to revise it, because I could do that. All right, the and rule says it takes T and a T. So here's a T, T, that's true. Here's another true and a true, that's true, and that's it. Everything else has at least one false in it. Again, that's the and rule, and you have those in your notes. It takes 2 truths to be true if you're using the and rule. All right, so that's the answer to the parenthesis. I'm going to compare that with this other column over here. So R, again, you could just look there, but to be thorough, I'm copying it down. And then now that I have the answer to the parenthesis, and I'm looking at R, I'm comparing these 2 columns with the or rule. The final step is an or. So an or, it's very forgiving. As long as there's one T, it's true. So we've got a T on, here's 2 F's, that one's not going to be. Here's 2 T's, at least one T makes it true. But an F and an F is F. Here's the FF. And then that should be, if you're checking your work, that should be your final answer. Again, you may pause the video and kind of zoom in on that if needed. Okay, then we do that again. Number 7. I'm going to try to be smarter this time, not erase the whole thing. So I can use my 8 cases. Okay, number 7. Number 7 does not tell you what these things stand for. Again, that's just really for interest, but you don't have to know. It just says do this problem. Okay, and the problem is, oh, we get to do a conditional. We've not done one of those yet with our truth table, I don't think. the rule written down, but we've not applied it yet. All right, so how do we do this? We do parentheses first. So we're going to write down R, use the AND rule, and then the not Q. So we're going to do parentheses first. Then we'll come over here. Maybe you'll copy down P again, but this is the final step. What's between these two? So it's a conditional. If you were asked what type of problem, it's a conditional. So I'm going to start with the parentheses. I negate Q, so I'll copy down all the opposites of Q. Then I write down R, so I'm copying just exactly as it is. Then I use my AND rule. The AND rule says it takes T and a T to be true. So I'm going to kind of just look through there. Here's the only T and T. Everything else has, oh, here's another one, sorry. T and T is true. As long as there's one false in it, those are false. Everything else is false. So that's my answer to the parenthesis. And you might use highlighters or something to visually help you focus on that, but that's your answer to that parenthesis. Then I'm going to copy down column P. Just copy it as it is. And then the final step is to take P, if P, then Q is the statement. If P, then all of that. So we're taking the answer to that. So we're comparing T and F. Now, if you remember from our broken promise rule, if you did this part and then they didn't follow up, that's the broken promise. T to F, that's F. I'm just going to look for those. T to F is F. Everything else is okay. T to F, there's another one. F and F. Oh, sorry. Everything else is okay. And that's J up there. Oh, see how that can happen. Let me focus back again. A T and a T is okay. The only time, I've already messed myself up. Sorry, you've caught me. True to false is the only time it's false. Let me check those. True to false is false. True to false is false. Everything else is okay. Here's the true to the false. There's more of those than you'd think, though, huh? I think I'm back on track. Sorry about that, F and F. Everything else is okay, though. There's only one case that is false on the conditional. If you have a true that leads to a false, that means you broke your promise. You got your A, but then they didn't buy you the car, like our example we talked about. All right, so the final answer, I do believe, unless I got off track, you all send me an email if I did. It should be, this is your final answer. You could have follow-up questions. I didn't ask very many of those, it looks like, in your practice, but you could say, under what conditions does this work out to be true? And it's a lot of them. Case 3, case 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe a better question, under what conditions is it false? There's just 3 of those, it looks like. So again, you could have follow-up questions. Okay, number 8. Oh shoot, I was going to be smarter and I forgot. I was going to keep my 8 cases. Well, shucks. All right, so we got your P, Q, and R happening again. Got 2 H's there to erase. Okay, so my 8 cases, daggone it. I'm going to copy this down. There are the 8 cases, and this problem is the biconditional. We haven't done one of those together yet. I'm using that rule and the conditional. Oh, it's not R. All right, so I would do my parentheses first. As all of the examples, we need to do our parentheses first. So I would do the, make a column for each part that I need to do, it looks like. All right, so in the parentheses, I've got Q, so I'm going to copy Q from over here. Copy not R, which means do the opposite of R. And then use the conditional rule. The conditional rule is a T to an F is F. That's the broken promise, T to F. This one I think a little harder on, so T to an F. And I think everything else was okay. And then true all the other times. All right, that's the answer to my parenthesis. Again, you might want to circle it or highlight it because we're going to use that with P. I can just copy P as it is. here. And then the biconditional rule, I'm comparing column P with the answer to the parenthesis, and I'm doing a biconditional. The biconditional rule says they have to have the same back and forth, either both true or both false. That's true. So it's a two-way street, like if and only if this. So these two things go together. An F and an F is T, a T and a T is T. The other ones, if there's a combo, it's F. So I'm looking for same truth value. T and a T, T and a T, T and T, F and F. All right, so there was a few of those, or 4 of those, it's split half and half, but this is your final answer to that. All right, so now that we've practiced through all of these examples, then we end up, the last couple of notes are, if you would ever do a truth table, and all of these were true, or all of these were false, that means something, some special words. So you can see in your note packet, it says a self-contradiction is a compound statement that's always false, or if every truth value in the answer column of the truth table is false. If every one of these would have been false, then we call that a self-contradiction, in case I don't finish this up before the video goes off. The next one, and the reason sometimes it cuts off abruptly is because on YouTube I can only upload 15 minutes at a time, so sometimes I'm at 14:59 and I can't get my last word out there. So just saying, if we don't finish up, know that those are the words that go with that. Now, a tautology is if it's all true. If your final answer is always true, we call that a tautology. And last, the wording is implication. That's a conditional statement that's always true, or conditional statement that's tautology. Let's try to get these last 2 in. Again, if you haven't already worked those, pause the video always and do it before I get to the answer. All right, so this is our problem we're asked to work. It's just a P and a Q. Well, thank goodness I won't have to write 8 cases. So it's P and Q, which if there's only 2 statements, there's only 4 cases, right? So not as much to write, thank goodness. So either they're both true, case 1, true, false, or false, true, or false, false. The 4 possibilities with 2 statements. So we'd do our parentheses first. We'd copy down column P, copy down column Q, then do the biconditional rule. Remember, they have to be the same. True and a true. That's not, and that is. So it takes the same truth value on the biconditional. So that's our answer for that parenthesis. Then we go over here, copy down P, negate Q, which means change these to their opposite, and then use the biconditional rule. So a T and a F, no. T and T is true, F and F is true. All right, so that's my answer. Follow my rules there. Then finally, the final answer, this is a conjunction if asked, because the final step is to do what's between them, the and. So comparing these 2 answers to the parenthesis, and it has to have has to be only true and true. That's the only way that works, a true and a true. And so when you look, that never happens. They're all at least 1 F in it, so none of those have true and true. So our final answer is all F's. That means it's a self-contradiction. If your final answer is all F, self-contradiction. All right, and the last one must be a tautology. So just know when you work it, if we don't finish this out, it must be, let me use this up here. I'm trying to be smarter about this, right? Not erase it all. So this one must work out to be always true. And let's see if we can do it. P and Q. And it's a conditional, which means it'll be actually an implication for more specific naming. All right, so we do what's in our parentheses first. I'm just going to look over here. Using and, it takes a true and a true. So that's my answer there. See, since I'm not having a negate or anything, I'm just going to look at these. And then a true, same thing. It's the same problem. Oh, no, it's an or. Sorry about that. So either one can be true. So that's my answer for that parenthesis, using the or rule, using the and rule. And then the conditional rule, a T to an F, is the only time it's false. So that does not show up on this. Always always true. That's your implication.